Hi yogis. This practice is designed to help alleviate anxiety and some of the physical symptoms that it brings. You'll need a small cushion like this or a yoga block if you have one at home. And for now, I'm just going to have you put that off to the side. We'll use that more towards the end of the practice. You'll need to come down on your belly for this beginning part. So find a place where you can stretch out and come right down onto the front of your body. We'll have arms crossed in front of us, forearms either overlapping or hugging really close. So you're kind of opposite hand to opposite elbow. And instead of stretching the forearms way out in front of you and laying your head down, I'm going to have you walk them back about halfway towards being right under your shoulders. So there's a slight angle to the forearms, and you're really resting your weight more onto that space. Then you can give your hips a little wiggle side to side, getting comfortable on your belly and the front of your hips. If you'd like, you can pick up one foot at a time, stretch your legs out, rest them back down comfortably. And I'm going to have you bring your forehead to rest on your forearms. So when I do that, my voice gets a little muffled, so I'm going to keep my head up slightly. But you can rest your forehead right down on your arms and maybe adjust the placement of your forearms slightly to comfortably rest your head down. Now, if this position really bothers your shoulders or your chest, you're welcome to grab a rolled or folded up blanket or a towel or any variation of cushions that you like. And you can slide that underneath your upper chest, kind of collarbone area. So it comes underneath your armpits, really, under your shoulders, and helps to keep you propped up in this position. So feel free to grab anything you need. Give yourself support if that makes this a little more available to your body. And then your head will come forward of all of that, and again, resting your forehead down to your arms. So the goal of this position, crocodile pose, is really to keep the chest lifted. We rest the weight more into belly, front of the pelvis and hips, into the front of the legs, and all the way down to the feet. So you can imagine that heavy crocodile tail resting down, and that's your lower body. And the chest, the heart space being more lifted here makes it harder to default into chest breathing, which is what we tend to do when experiencing anxiety. Breath tends to sit in the chest. In this position, that's not as available, and the breath then goes down to the diaphragm, down to the lower ribs, upper belly. Our diaphragm is our primary breathing muscle. This is its job, to be guiding our breath. We're giving our secondary breathing muscles up in the chest, up at the collarbones, we're giving them a break here. We don't need to default to chest breathing. And let the breath be in the belly. Experience what it feels like to breathe into that space. Feel where your expansion is in the lower ribs, around the side of the lower ribs, the side body, and through the mid to lower back. You might feel a slight rocking in your lower back or at your sacrum as you breathe. And this breath not only easing tension out of some commonly tense and sore muscles through the mid to lower back, through the pelvis, but this breath really soothes the nervous system. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest state, which is hard to be in when we're anxious. We tend to be in fight or flight. This position, this pose, this diaphragmatic breathing taking us out of that stress response. And a few more cycles of breath, softening your shoulders as you exhale, sitting into the weight of your pelvis. And if you want to practice this pose more or learn more about how to get into it comfortably, experience a longer version of this, we do have another video. It's called Diaphragmatic Breathing. We'll talk more about this crocodile pose and about this breath practice. And for now, lifting your head slightly, we'll start to peel arms out and bring your hands down by the sides of your chest or under your shoulders, and slowly press up and back through hands and knees, and then you can take your hips back towards your heels for a child's pose. Now feel free to take your knees wide, your big toes in towards each other, or if it's more comfortable for you, you can slide a cushion under your belly or between your hips and heels. Forehead coming down to the mat or bringing something underneath your forehead to bring the floor up to you. We'll keep the arms stretching forward for this one. So you don't have to strain in this stretch. Just lengthen your arms forward. Let your fingertips point towards the front of your mat. And I already spoke to chest breathing with anxiety, but we also have a tendency to breathe short and shallow when we're anxious. And we bring a lot of tension to all the breathing muscles, up through the chest, around the collarbones, and in between the ribs. So in this practice and in these poses, really working to stretch and release all of the muscles that help us breathe, that can take on tension when our breath is small. And keeping your hips centered right over your heels, walk your hands over to the left. Drop your weight into your right hip so you're really rooting towards that heel, and feel your breath in your right side body. So we're coming into those intercostal muscles now through the rib cage. They're between the ribs. We're giving them some nice stretch, letting the breath open up between the ribs where it gets a little sticky, and through the side waist, lower back. And walking your hands over through center, we'll go to the other side. So hands come over towards the right. Your left hip settles towards your left heel. And welcome your breath into left side body. Unstick those ribs. And then walking your hands over through center. You can come up to hands and knees, up to a table pose. And go ahead and take a few cycles of cat and cow. Just arching your spine up and down. Letting your breath guide your rhythm. Feel into your breath. Let your body just kind of follow along. Back and forth, and then maybe getting a little more playful or personal with it. You can feel into your body and where you need some space, and start to explore some side stretching, circular motions, and shifting around and opening up through your torso. And bringing your breath to any space that feels a little more compressed. And welcoming light into all the shadowy spaces. Coming again into a shape to release the chest. We'll have left hand under left shoulder. Right hand is going to reach up towards the sky. Stack your shoulders, open your heart, lengthen out through those arms. And take a nice big breath here, and then as you exhale, sweep down around that same path, and then scoop your right arm under your left and lower your right shoulder to the floor. So your hips stay pretty much right over your knees. Your left arm can lie down in front of your face, or you can choose to walk your fingertips towards the front of your mat if you're on a yoga mat, and lengthen that arm out so your bicep kind of lines up with your ear. And again, you're opening into side body here. So getting into those intercostal muscles. We're doing some shoulder releasing if you're reaching that top arm through the outer shoulder blade. And that shoulder that's down on the floor, we're stretching around through the upper back. So again, that shallow, short breath sitting up in the chest space tends to bring a lot of tension to the upper back. Letting go of some of that here. One more full cycle of breath in and out. And then if your top arm is reaching, we'll bring it back in. Hand in front of your face, and then press into that hand to unwind. Come back to center, and we're going to go right to the other side. So right hand will stay under your shoulder. Left arm this time is going to sweep up. Stack your shoulders, open your heart to the left, really reach through those arms, and then take one more nice deep breath. As you exhale, come back down around that same arc, sweep under, keep your hips pretty much lined up over your knees, resting down onto that left shoulder. You can take your right arm in front of your face, or again, you can do the overhead reach, reaching your fingertips towards the front of your mat. Bicep kind of lining up over your ear. Just feeling into that upper body and that rotation in your spine. And all the ribs attaching to the spine and releasing tension from around the rib cage however we can. The top arm will come back in if it was stretching. Hand in front of your face, press into the earth to unwind. And then here, yogi's choice. You can take a downward facing dog if you like, curl your toes, lift your knees, press your hips up and back, or you can take a puppy pose. Keep your hips over your knees, walk your hands forward, and rest your chest towards the earth. So again, heart opening. If you're in this puppy pose, stretching through the front of the heart space through the ribs. That downward dog pose, getting some length as well through the back of the legs, some strength through the upper body. So either one has its benefits, both grounding and keeping us close to the earth and that support and that stability here, which can be really great when we're feeling anxious, feeling kind of flighty, spacey, almost vibrating sometimes with that anxiety. Coming back to that stability of the earth, of the ground, is soothing and calming and centering. Let's take one more cycle of breath wherever you are. And if you're in downward facing dog, starting to bring your knees back down. If you're in puppy, walking your hands back. And let's go ahead and take a seat on the mat or on your bed if you're on your bed. And sit however you feel comfortable. And we're going to do one stretch for the neck, but feel free if you have more time, if you want to take a pause and add in any other neck stretches. They're all helpful here. I'm going to show you one stretch to really target through the sides and the front of your neck, where again, we have these muscles that attach down to the collarbones, and they sometimes in that chest breathing activate more than they need to help lift and lower your ribs with the breath. So coming into this stretch for the SCM, the sternocleidomastoid, and the scalene muscles, we'll take the head and tip it slightly back. It doesn't have to be way back, just an inch or so, tilting your chin up. And then taking your head over to the left slightly. Again, these are little movements. So back, left, and then very slightly turning your chin towards the left. So you can play with that a little. We're aiming to feel some sensation kind of from under the jaw, that left side of your jaw, down to the collarbones. So again, back, tilt slightly to the right, and then turn slightly to the right. And you can exaggerate those movements as much as you need to find some sensation. If you'd like, you can also take your left fingertips up to your collarbone, just kind of hook them over the top of your collarbone and very slightly press down. You can also take your whole hand and just slightly drag down here. I'm taking your palm, the heel of your hand, just below your collarbone or your shoulder, pressing in slightly, pulling down slightly. You can also welcome a little bit of movement here if you want, a little kind of shake of the head, moving your chin, your jaw in space. We'll take one more cycle of breath. And drop the hand. And then very slowly, let's roll forward to center. So we'll come right ear towards right shoulder and then chin towards your chest. And then hanging out here for a moment and just feeling into the two sides of your neck, noticing any difference in sensation. And we're going to start to go to the other side. So we'll bring head up to center first. And then those three movements, we're going to go back, slightly to the left, so that's a head tilt to the left, so back, left, and then turn slightly to the left. So again, we're opening this space from about under the jaw on the right side down towards the collarbone. So again, back, tilt, and turn. You can take your right hand if you'd like. Again, either hooking the fingertips over the top of your collarbone and slightly pressing down, or let your whole palm or the heel of your hand come underneath your collarbone into the upper chest, the pecs, and very slightly draw down. And we'll take one more breath in and out. Hand comes down if you were using it. And again, let's roll slowly, left ear towards left shoulder. Come down through center, chin towards your chest. Now notice if your spine is really rounding, your ribs hanging down towards your pelvis. Lift up through your rib cage, get long and tall through your spine. Keep your chin down towards your chest. Slightly shrug your shoulders up towards your ears, roll them back and down, lift that heart space up towards your chin. And feel height all the way up through your spine, and then bring it up through the back of your neck, bringing your chin back up, head forward. I'm going to invite you to take a forward fold, and again, we'll do a little yogi's choice here. So I'm going to do a bound angle forward fold, soles of the feet together, knees out. So that's just what feels best for me today. But feel free to take yours either with legs folded, legs stretched out in front of you, or take a wide angle stretch. So your choice. Get tall again in your spine. Come forward on your sitting bones. So you can see that I'm kind of shuffling from side to side, getting my sitting bones kind of out from underneath me, coming forward on my pelvis so my tailbone is not curled up underneath. Lifting up through the heart. Take your belly forward. Take your heart space forward. And then gently you can round your spine. Once you've hinged from your hips, let your spine soften, let your head hang. Bring your hands to wherever they're comfortable. So the goal of this, no matter what shape your legs are in, is not to reach your feet, especially if you have long legs. The goal is not a big, intense stretch or to come into some shape that you've seen online or you've seen in a magazine. The goal is the forward fold. It's the hinge forward. It's the resting, the relaxation. We're again trying to stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, which forward folds are great for, really calming, soothing shape in the body. And so check in with your shoulders, again, your jaw, your face. And notice where you find sensation. And notice again where your breath is. So we're aiming for slower, deeper breath that fills the lungs. And taking your time to exhale. We'll take 3 more breaths and count them out. Try not to rush through them. And as you're ready, slowly stacking your spine back up. You can bring your legs back in from whatever position they were in. And we're going to turn so we're lying down, lying on your back. And this is where you'll need that cushion or the yoga block if you have it. So just bring that close to you. And lie so your feet are on the floor and your knees are bent up. You can walk your heels a little closer towards your hips. And feel free to wiggle around a little bit here. Get your shoulders out from underneath you if you're a little scrunched up. And coming into a supported bridge pose, we're going to lift the hips and slide your cushion or your block underneath. So if you're using the cushion, we want to try to get it a little more up towards the lower back and the pelvis rather than down just under the tailbone. We want to have some support here through the lower back so that it lifts up your ribs a little more, opens up your heart space. Again, we keep coming back to that heart open, breaking the heart space open, releasing that anxious tension. And it's also helpful here because from this shape, you can choose to go to legs up. And having that cushion a little higher is a little more supportive for that. And if you choose to bring your legs up, make it gentle. You can have a little bend in the knees. You can give your legs or your feet a little movement here if you'd like. But then settle into stillness when you're ready, a relaxed shape here. And just breathe. And if you feel like you're shaking, like your abs are working, you can soften your knees more. You can bring the front of your thighs towards your belly. You can even make this a reclined child's pose like I'm doing here, knees fully bent, front of the thighs coming in towards the belly, feet hanging down towards the hips. It still gives us that inversion, which is another soothing shape for the body. And just imagine any tension in your body draining out into the earth here. These inversion poses, these legs up poses, reverses circulation, kind of resets or boosts circulation of blood flow, of lymph, of energy in the body. And so you can imagine this as just one giant reset button. Letting go of anything that was stuck, letting it circulate back through so that it can be released. And you're welcome to stay in this pose longer if you want to. If you have the time, you can pause the video here, enjoy this one a little longer. But for now, I'll have us bring legs down slowly, feet back to the floor. And you can press your feet into the floor, come up on your toes to slide that cushion or that block out from underneath you. Bring your hips back down to the floor, widen your feet out slightly, and just sway your knees side to side. Massage your lower back, your pelvis, where it was resting on the support. And just Just kind of decompressing from that shape. And then bring your knees back up. Your feet stay wide. Knees and thighs can come to rest in against each other, or if they don't quite reach, take that cushion or block and slide it right between your knees for support. You can turn your toes in slightly. Sometimes a little pigeon toe is comfortable for people. And arms rest wherever they're comfortable. And as we close this practice out, I'm going to offer a meditation that is a breath-centered meditation, or you can call it a meditative breathing practice, either way. And this really helps to keep the mind focused and centered. So those of us who are chronically anxious, or anyone who's experienced anxiety, which I think is probably everyone at some point, we know that the thoughts tend to run, right, and circle back around and just be kind of fast and crazy. And so taking a practice like this where we're so focused on one thing helps to quiet the mind and to let some of those patterns of that monkey mind, those jumping thoughts, to fall away, even if just for a short period of time. And the more we do that, the more the brain gets wired to do that. So this practice, we're going to do a counting breath. It's a little different than the usual counting breath that I teach, which is counting in for a certain number and counting out for that number. We're instead going to choose a number, and for this practice, just to keep it slightly on the shorter side, we're going to choose 20, and we're going to breathe and count backwards from 20. So not only are we focusing on the breath, we're focusing on numbers, but we're focusing on having to count backwards. So the mind is really engaged here, but it's engaged with the breath. So as we count, we're going to be breathing in on the even numbers and breathing out on the odd numbers. So this is sounding complex, but it's going to be really easy and really soothing here. So I will count with you for this one, and then you can take this practice whenever you'd like. Take it out of this video. This is great for going to sleep at night. It's almost like counting sheep. And it's great just when you need a little break. Pick a number, go in the other room, and breathe. So I'm going to start at 20. We're going to inhale. We're going to do this really slow, so we're not rushing the breath. Exhale, 19. Inhale, 18. Exhale, 17. Inhale, 16. Exhale, 15. I'm just going to give you the numbers now. You can keep breathing. Inhale, 14. 13. 12. 11. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. Last big breath in at 2. And exhale, 1. And so that's the breathing practice. It's counting with the breath. Notice we went slowly. We let that breath have time to expand and release. And so the breath was really leading. It was giving the breath that time, letting it happen, and just counting down as the breath came in and out. And you can move through that practice again if you'd like. Go through from 20 on your own, or choose another number and go back through that. Or you can slowly start to rise up and go back into your day. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.